I'm asking you to dream big again. This will be America's new golden age.
What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video, and I hope everyone is having a great day. I am certainly having a great day myself, and before we get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell. Also consider joining the channel today. Again, folks, these are all great ways to support the daily content, but enough of the promotional stuff, let's get into it because we had a bombshell poll drop just last night, and it took the world by storm. Hell, it was such a big deal that even I streamed last night. For those that don't know, Ann Seltzer, the quote-unquote gold standard of Iowa polling, just released her final poll out of Iowa, and she found Harris plus 3. That is not a misquote, that's not a typo. She didn't find Trump plus 4, Trump plus 5, Trump plus 6. No. She, by some miracle, found Harris plus 3. We're not talking about a Democrat state or even a swing state. This is the state of Iowa. For those that don't know, back in 2020, Trump won Iowa by just over 8 points. And in recent years, the state has been trending more and more Republican. Yet by some miracle, Ann Seltzer, the gold standard of polling, found by some miracle a Harris lead. Not even a tied race, no, Harris plus 3. And everyone lost their minds. Everyone began to say, well, it's all over for Trump. We're about to see a Democrat wave. She's going to win by 15 points everywhere. It's going to be a landslide. Which, they're not wrong, because if Ann Seltzer's actually correct, for this to be even anywhere close to accurate, we're not talking about just a Democrat win. We're talking about a Democrat wave bigger than 2008. That's why me and a bunch of other people are very skeptical about this poll, because Ann Seltzer is the only poll right now to say Harris is going to win in a historical landslide. She's the only one. And for those that don't believe me, look at the national polling right now. The best Harris poll on the RCP average right now is a Harris plus 3 from ABC News. A Harris plus 3 is still worse than Biden's popular vote victory in 2020. Everyone else is showing either Harris plus 2 through Trump plus 2. Every other pollster at the national level. For this poll to be correct, she has to win the popular vote by like 10 points. Yet not even Big Village Polling, which is a garbage pollster, they don't even have Harris up by that much. They have her up by 7. Now do you see the problem? And people began to look inside of this poll, the parts they actually released, and they realized, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, look at the crosstabs here, and I know crosstabs, they can be wonky, I'm not denying that, but when the crosstabs are this bad, it makes you really wonder, who the hell did she poll? Look at senior women. They shifted 30 points Democrat. Senior men, 30 points Democrat. But by some miracle, independent voters only shifted 3 points Democrat. Compare that with every other demographic that shifted 10 points, 20 points, 30 points. Independents, by some miracle, they only shifted 3 points. You know what that means? One of two things. Either Republican voters, which, by the way, voter registration in Iowa is so bad for Democrats, it's shifted like 10 points Republican in just 4 years. Either these new voters that just became Republicans are voting overwhelmingly for Harris, or she is claiming that Iowa's like majority Democrat, which it's not. Just look at the voter registration. In 2020, it was R plus 1. Now, it's R plus 10. And every single county since 2020 has shifted Republican in Iowa. Every single one of them. Hell, places like Johnson County, which is very Democrat, they even shifted 3 points Republican. Every single county. But by some miracle, these new Republican voters, they just became Republicans. They're going to vote for Harris? Like, does no one see the problem with that? I do. To me, that sounds like complete bull. There's no way in hell you could tell me that Independents are not causing the shift, but rather a magical surge in Democrats in Iowa and Republicans that hate Trump. That's the only way this poll makes any sense whatsoever. Which, if that's the case, why release this poll? It's clear you have a huge problem. If you drop a poll like this, and there's this many problems with it, why? Why release it? Just say, okay, we have to delay the results by a couple days. We need more respondents because some of these results, they seem a bit wonky. We got to make sure these are correct. But nope, Ann Seltzer said, drop it. Drop a D plus 35 with senior women, R plus 2 with senior men, but Indies only shift 3 points Republican or Democrat. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. What a load of crap. Now I know, some people are going to say, but it's Ann Seltzer. They're the gold standard of polling in Iowa, and they're predicting a win for Harris in the state. Therefore, that's proof of a magical blue wave. I understand that in the past, Ann Seltzer has been a good pollster. Here's the problem. Ann Seltzer is not the only gold standard. Now, in Iowa, she used to be, before this poll dropped. I would argue that, yeah, she was probably the overall one of the better pollsters in the state. The problem is, there are other gold standards out there that are showing the complete opposite. Just go to states like, for example, Georgia, an actual swing state. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution is the best pollster in Georgia. And while it's a month old, their final poll was Trump plus 4. They're the best pollster in Georgia, and they found Trump up by 4 points. Now, could it be outdated a little bit? Yeah, but they're usually spot on. They're within like a point every single year in the state of Georgia. And a Trump plus 4 is a 4 to 5 point shift in the state. Which, this is a swing state. This is not some deep red state. This isn't a Democrat state. This should be a toss-up. Yet right now, the best pollster out of Georgia, they found Trump up by 4 points. And you can keep going. Go to places like even Colorado. Keating Research is the best pollster in Colorado, usually. And they found Harris up by only 12. This is in Colorado. This is one of the most Democrat trending states in the country. And back in 2020, Biden won the state by just under 14 points. So Kamala Harris is doing worse than Biden in Colorado, a state that everyone agrees is trending heavy towards Democrats. Yet the best pollster out there is saying, hey, Donald Trump is doing a couple points better in Colorado, despite it trending heavy to the left, and it should have a big swing to cycle. Despite that, Trump is doing 2 to 3 points better here. And the same thing's happening in New Mexico. The best pollster in New Mexico is the Albuquerque Journal, and their final poll was Harris plus 9. That's a 2 to 3 point shift in New Mexico compared to 2020. So, Georgia, New Mexico, and Colorado, all three of these states have their own gold standards that are always correct, at least in recent memory. And they're all showing a 2 to 4 point shift in their respective states. Every single one of them. Even in places like Texas, Arizona, North Carolina, the best pollsters in those states, they're showing the same thing. A consistent 2 to 4 point shift in those states. But Ann Seltzer is the only quote-unquote gold standard saying Donald Trump is going to lose Iowa. Not just come close to losing it. No, he's going to lose it by 3 points. That's an 11-point shift, which goes against even the national polling. The best polls for Harris, the best they're finding right now is Harris plus 3, Harris plus 4, which is actually worse than 2020. There's no scenario in which Trump does better in the popular vote, but does that much worse in Iowa? Like, is it possible he does a point worse there? I guess. But we're not talking about just a 1 point shift. We're talking about an 11-point shift in one of the most Republican trending states in the country. Is that possible? I guess. Maybe in some bizarro world, Iowa has this huge shift towards Harris. But right now, there's no metrics out there to indicate that, yeah, there's going to be a magical surge for Harris in Iowa. Hell, Emerson College, just a couple hours before Seltzer dropped her poll, they dropped a Trump plus 10 in Iowa. So which one's correct? Trump plus 10 or Harris plus 3? I'm going to say the Trump plus 10 in Iowa makes way more sense than Harris plus 3. Especially looking at the current state of the race, looking at voter registration, even early voting. Democrats are getting killed in the early vote in Iowa. Voter registration has trended even more Republican. There are no indicators at all that she's going to come close to winning the state, let alone doing even better than Biden there. But by some miracle, Ann Seltzer is saying Harris plus 3. And the funny thing is, there were a bunch of polls dropped just today and even last night that are finding completely different trends. Look at Atlas Intel. Atlas Intel, they dropped their final swing state poll, and Trump is winning every single swing state. Atlas Intel is the best pollster out there, one of the best, I should say. They are usually on the money everywhere. And right now, they have Trump up by 7 in Arizona, Trump plus 3 in Georgia, plus 2, plus 6, plus 4. It's every swing state. Not just in the Sun Belt, but in the Rust Belt. And it wasn't just the swing states. We had brand new national polling, and look at this. Emerson College tied race. Atlas Intel, Trump plus 2. NBC News, tied race. NBC News found a tied race. NBC News, or I should say Tip Insights, they found Trump plus 1. Morning Compost is only Harris plus 2. ABC News is the only one in the last couple of days that found Harris plus 3. Which may not be enough for her to win the Electoral College. Are you seeing the problem here for Ann Seltzer? It's not just it's an outlier. It's such a big outlier with some bizarre crosstabs, and then you look at things like the most important issue and the economy is like 5th or whatever. It's like, wait, what? In the state of Iowa, the future of democracy is somehow like the most important issue? What? It makes you really wonder, why did Ann Seltzer drop this poll? Like, if this was a Trump plus 4 or 5, I could understand that. That would be pretty bad for Trump. But when it's such a clearly bad poll, like Harris plus 3 in Iowa, when it's so obvious, I mean, this is not just a small 2-point shift from 2020. We're talking about an 11-point shift in a state with no indicators that it's going to shift anywhere but to the right. It makes you really wonder, how did she find this magical lead for Harris when every other pollster, not just 1 or 2, every other pollster is finding a very close race in the swing states, in the popular vote, everywhere. And I know people are going to say, but 2016 and 2020, guess what? Back then, Ann Seltzer was not the only pollster saying, hey, Trump could be doing way better in places like Iowa, Ohio, those states. There were a bunch of pollsters that were correct in 2016 and 2020. It wasn't just Ann Seltzer being the only one correct. Yes, she was correct in Iowa, but she wasn't the only good pollster. I don't get why people are making it sound like that she's the only good pollster out there. Atlas Intel, Trafalgar, I know people are going to say Trafalgar's a bad poll, but back in 2016 and 2020, they were good. Richard Barris is a good pollster, and I know people don't like him, but it's just a fact. He's a good pollster, and they're all showing similar trends. Trump is in a good position to win. Even the gold standards in places like New Mexico and Colorado, Democrat states, they're showing a 2 to 3 point shift in the respective states. But Kamala Harris is going to do 11 points better in Iowa. Yeah, I find that very unlikely. Is it possible? I guess. But the fact that Democrats really believe that Iowa is going to shift 11 points Democrat, and this is proof of a blue wave, is just crazy to me. Could it shift Democrat? I guess. Maybe a point or so. I guess that's possible, but when it's such an obviously garbage poll, can you really tell if it's going to shift Democrat at all, especially when they're banking on 30-point shifts with senior voters? When no one else is showing this any kind of trend like that whatsoever? We'll see on Tuesday, I guess, but Ann Seltzer better be correct, because if she is off by even 5 points, her credibility is shot. But more than likely, she could be off by like 10 points. Maybe by 15. We'll see what happens on Tuesday. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below. Subscribe, share with your friends. Hit that little bell. Follow the social media accounts in the description down below. And of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.